want answers? I think I'm entitled. You want answers? I want the truth. You can't handle the truth.
We are the Mad Men of Masculinity.
Your home for healthy masculinity. We're just real men having real conversations for you. Oh, yeah. Happy afternoon, Mad Men Mafia.
I am Kirk M. Samuels.
And I am Jason B. Kendrick.
And we are the Mad Men of Masculinity.
That's right. We're just real men having real conversations for you.
I love that.
And it's going to be on today, man.
Hey, I posted the link to that video clip the other day, A Few Good Men, Colonel Jessup, and, I want the truth. You can't handle the truth, man. So many people can't handle the truth these days, man.
Handle the truth. No,
and they don't know how to deal with it.
They don't know how to deal with it. Plus, they get all in their feelings and emotions because, you know what? If you get triggered, maybe there's something to look at because obviously it's hitting some kind of button. But there's some truth in there for you to unravel for yourself, reveal to yourself. There's something going on in there. And this is going to be probably one of those triggering conversations.
I think there's something to be said in our culture and our reality that, there's a lot of topics that we don't talk about. There's a lot of pushback. There's a lot of common messaging that people hear, but there's also a lot of common messaging that people don't hear. And when they hear something that goes against everything they've been hearing, a lot of people get triggered and a lot of people get all mad at the source of where it came from and ignore the fact that some things might be real, some things might be true, some things might be whatever. And, and guess what? You don't always have to agree with everybody. I mean, the beautiful part of this world, this country is that we don't have to agree. We don't have to all have the same opinion, the same perspective. But that being said, just because somebody says something that doesn't, and you don't agree with it or resonate with it, doesn't mean it ain't reality in some kind of way, at least if nothing else for them.
Yeah, I mean, well, let's just squash that real quick for you people out there who think we all live in the same world. You're wrong. There's 8 billion worlds out there. Every person lives in their own singular world, their own experience, their own thoughts, their own feelings. And so if somebody says something that you don't agree with, it's still true for that person, or at least it is for a time. And that's the other thing too. People change. Hopefully you're changing. Hopefully you've made mistakes and learned from them and you're growing. So when you get triggered by somebody who says I'm not that anymore, or this is different, then that's your issue. That's not their issue. But this whole we all got to think alike and do alike and everything is just wrong. And especially when it comes to men and women, this is killing us and families in the world, that the feminization of men, because we think that, masculinity is toxic. Well, no, the lack of it is the issue.
Yeah. It's the not presence of the thing that causes the problem. It's not the thing being present that always causes the problem. When there's masculinity in the room, everybody is safer in the room. When there's masculinity in the family, everybody's more whole, everybody's more protected, everybody's more a lot of good things when there's masculinity in the room. When there's not, then that's when it's a problem for everybody. When there's not masculinity in the room, even in the room in your head, by the way, even in the space right here, when you don't even understand these concepts, man, it's like, we're not here to make a whole lot of friends. We're not here to kiss babies and get votes come November. A lot of this stuff that we talk about is truth from our perspective, truth from a man perspective. Some of these things might be truth from me, from a black man perspective. Some of these might be true from you from a white man perspective. We might have some truth because we're both veterans from the military, et cetera, et cetera. But if you don't agree, then so be it. I mean, we're not here to be nice guys and just, kowtow. You don't have to like us. You don't have to like us at all. That's the point of, can you even handle the truth? And if you can't handle the truth, click somewhere else, man.
So let's just get right into it. Trigger alert. Put your big boy and girl panties on. We're just going to get right into it because this whole toxic masculinity notion and this thing that's been sold and the kind of toxic feminist notion of all men are evil and masculinity is toxic and we need to feminize the nation. Well, that's where a lot of these issues are coming from. And when you look at, we did the episode on the statistics of single motherhood homes and what happens to the children versus single fatherhood homes, or when there's a father present. When you look at little boys today and you wonder why there's so many nice guys and feminized men and stuff like that, it's because 80 to 90% of their influence is feminine. You know, the single mother households, there's no father around. The school system's 80% female. And then we have this whole narrative of, oh, masculinity is bad. So we have to train out the masculine traits of little boys. So you can't let little boys be little boys and play and roughhouse and do the things that boys need to do to learn how to be men and masculine. You try to train that out of them. And then you complain about there aren't any good men out there, or where, you know, why is the family system degenerating at record speed right now? Because there's not enough masculinity. There's not enough healthy masculinity out there. And all we're left with is nice guys and the toxic masculine guys, or the, you know, insecure, quote unquote, alpha males that are out there trying to be the boss when they're just insecure and covering up. They're not healthy masculine men.
Yeah. We don't do this to fix men. We don't do this to, you know, I know a lot of people love us to come over here and just rail against men, and men needed this, and men are this, and men are broke, and men are whatever. And we're talking about, you know, issues. We're talking about bigger picture kind of stuff. Men are not broke. Like, as I mean, us individually, you know, we are not broke. We may have progressive work that needs to be done in terms of all of us being the greatest version of who we are. And that, you know, you want to do that, it goes both ways. That goes both ways. You know, don't sit back and talk about how bad men are on the dating websites, and you don't even have a clue on how jacked up women are on these dating websites. You know, don't talk about, you know, single dads and you know, and deadbeat dads and all that kind of stuff, and you don't recognize that your girlfriend is a deadbeat mom, that your girlfriend keeps the kids away from their dad. You know, that, I mean, we can go on and on. Don't sit back and, you know, and harp about fatherhood when you give the minimum amount of effort to celebrate Father's Day coming up. You know, I mean, so you know, we don't start off with men are bad, men are broke, men need to be fixed, men need to be whatever. Men got issues that are man issues, and we need to take care of our stuff in house. But that being said, we don't stop there. We always say sometimes we talk two men, sometimes we talk four men, and when we speak for men, we're giving the male perspective on what life is like for a whole lot, way more than 51 out of 100 men. And if you don't like it, then sometimes you just got to deal with it. That's just the reality of it. And we're not going to sit back and just be a nice guy because you think we should be a nice guy and, you know, kowtow to the feminist agenda and all that kind of stuff. You know, neither one of us need a feminist in our life. I mean, you know, we really don't care what that feminist agenda thinks that we need to be or we should be. The point is, you know, that agenda wants to put masculinity in a box and define what it is, and then have us be a puppet that comes out and be like Elmo and all that kind of stuff and play that game. We're not here for that. That's just not how we roll. But it's the lack of masculinity in all of these spaces, whether it's a dating website, whether it's a family, whether it's a workplace, whether it's a church organization, whether it's whatever it is. I mean, it's the lack of great and you know, the healthiest masculinity that is the true problem in our culture.
Yeah, I mean, let's break down healthy masculinity for those of you who probably have never experienced it and don't know, and all you hear is the broken masculine or the toxic masculine. You're not sure what healthy masculinity looks like. A healthy masculine man is probably not the Chad Tyrone alpha guy that's all talking loud stuff. He's a man who has standards. He has boundaries. He's going to tell you the truth, and you're not going to like it. He's probably going to next you real quick if you give him some of that feminist narrative and stuff, because he knows what he wants. He knows what he needs. He knows what he brings to the table. And that's one thing I think is really funny now. If you get on TikTok, there's a lot of guys who are turning the tables on all this stuff that we've seen with all the ladies saying, you need to pay for everything because my nails cost this and my dress costs that. And so this and that. And those guys are saying, well, you need to pay for me because my shirt costs this, my shoes cost that. I came out there. So we're just turning the tables. And that's what healthy men will do to try to show you the kind of hypocrisy and the double standards and the things that are being sold to you. And so healthy masculinity looks very different than what you've been sold. You know, when you have the healthy father in the home, he's going to tell you, no, don't wear that. No, you can't do that. No, this isn't safe. When you have a healthy man in a relationship, he's going to tell you, no, don't wear that. No, don't do that. That's not safe, because he cares for you. But when what's being sold to you now is that somehow that's controlling and toxic, because he's trying to tell you not to go out with your girlfriends when you're a married woman. Well, it makes no sense if you are married and in a relationship to go out with your single girls, because they want to, you're supposed to want two different things. And so it's not about being toxic masculine because he says, no, don't do that. He's being honest with you and being a healthy masculine man by saying, that's not a good idea. That's not a good look. That's not going to get us to the goal that we both said we wanted in this relationship. If you're out there doing this stuff, getting all this influence to be like a single girl again from your single ladies who are unhappy. And it's the same for guys. You know, a lot of us, if we're single guys, we have, married guy friends, we hang out on the golf course. We're not trying to get our married guy friends to go to the strip club or go party with us or whatever, and vice versa. They're not trying to take us to the kids' place. I mean, maybe, I don't know, bring some popcorn, watch the kids hang out. But we understand the dynamic as healthy men. Now, a lot of the nice guys and the toxic masculine guys and the deadbeats and whatnot, they don't understand those dynamics. They're just grasping onto whatever they can get as far as a life, preserver, a life vest, something just kind of like a lifesaver to get them through the next day, to get them to the next thing. And so they're probably not thinking long-term. They're not thinking healthily. They're not thinking boundaries and standards and whatnot. And that's the whole thing, is that what's happening is that healthy masculinity and what is needed in this world is being demonized as toxic because it doesn't jive with this feminist agenda that's being shoved down your throat.
That feminist agenda wants to paint a picture of what a man should be. And first of all, a female can't define what a male, feminine can't define masculine, right? It takes a man to make a man, and it takes men to define masculinity. So, if you're not even a male, then the conversation is not even for you, right? Because that agenda wants you to believe that a good man is like Superman. He's pretty, he's got the tights on, and they match, and they're color coordinated, and he's got the little curl, over his hair and the forehead, and and all those other kind of things. True masculinity is more like Batman. Batman is actually a villain, but does good things. If you follow the character, Batman, he's got tools, he does this and that, he uses, certain things at his disposal, but he is, from a virtuosity perspective, he wants to do good things, but it ain't always pretty. He's the Dark Knight. He born in the dark, raised in the dark, all those kinds of things. He ain't afraid of the dark places. Matter of fact, he ain't even afraid to go into the dark places to go after dark things in those dark places. There's a community online, a men's community online, even from like these kind of podcasts and media platforms, social media platforms, termed like the red pill community. And we don't go that far. Personally, we could sit back and we can blame women for all of our problems, and we can try to over and outthink women. We could have women on here and try to beat them down or just whatever. And no, we don't go that route. We're willing to go into all of those places. We're willing to talk about men stuff. We're willing to call out men. We're willing to call out women. And that thing looks different when you have a certain agenda that wants to push you in a certain direction. And that direction is something that is pretty, something that is beautiful. And now you got guys trying to be pretty as their main kind of objective and all these other kind of things. But, that's not what masculinity is. Not a surface thing, man. It's a lived experience, man. And it's a grind every day. It's a weight. It's a burden. I talked to my brother last night and a couple of nights ago, and, he's talking about being a new father. And he's like, man, it's like a constant burden. He's like, every time I look over, he's looking at me like, yep, you got to produce every day, man. And, and his son is 6 months old. And it's one of those things that, man, you cannot explain, but we can't define masculinity through femininity. And so if you're a woman, don't try to define, stay out of that world, like stay out of that meeting. Like, don't even show up to that meeting. We don't need that opinion. We need men getting hands dirty in men's issues and men's problems, working on our stuff. And it would be great if y'all would do the same thing when y'all got together. Work on your stuff. not work on your face, not work on your cleavage, not work on your BBL and all this other kind of stuff. If you got down into some beneath the surface stuff and worked on that, that would be great. We would all greatly appreciate it.
Yeah, when it comes to men's issues, it's kind of a man thing. And ladies, if you want to know whether or not you should be telling men what they need to be or talking about masculinity, just think about how you feel every time a man tries to tell you something about femininity, what it's like to be a woman. It's the same thing. We're trying to tell you that to find a healthy masculine man, these are the things that you need to be aware of. And if you want to have one, then it's not going to look the way you're being sold. And unfortunately, I think the feminist agenda was pretty much bought and sold by corporate America. And now they're using it to get your dollars. They're using it to make you a taxpayer. They're using it to do all these things. And at the same time, they're using it to demonize healthy masculinity. Healthy masculinity is a guy who knows himself, knows who he is not going to be influenced by media, is not going to be influenced by all, the hot cars and the hot girls and things. He's going to be more influenced by his heart and his soul, what his goals are. And it's probably not going to look the way you've been sold. He's not going to be this 50 Shades of Grey billionaire, which is a fable. It's a fairy tale, not even real. And so the guy who goes to work every day, provides and grinds and does his job and makes sure you're housed and fed and taken care of, that's a real man. That's real masculinity. And yeah, okay, you're getting sold that he needs to make $1 million. Well, probably ain't going to happen. That's 10% of the population. A good man looks different. It may not be sexy, but if you want a good man, you have to deal with the fact that masculinity looks a certain way. It acts a certain way, healthy masculinity especially. And that means you will have to be able to hold yourself accountable because he's holding himself accountable, and he's going to have certain expectations just like you have certain expectations. But having healthy masculinity in the home is going to be the cure for a lot of the ills. I mean, I don't understand why so many ladies want to do everything nowadays. You want to do everything instead of having a healthy man to take over half or more of that burden. You want to be the breadwinner and the mom and the dad and do all these things when you could have a man come in happily and lovingly take over more than half of probably of all those things that you don't want to do. Mowing lawn, taking out the trash, making the money, disciplining the kids, doing all those different things. And that's one of the things too, is we have to realize that I don't care what the agenda is, we're not the same. And all you got to do is look at how children react to the masculine father versus the mother. You'll see I saw a video the other day, which was just a perfect example. The boy's yelling, "I'm not tired. I don't want to go to bed." The mom's like, "You need to go to bed." And he's just screaming and yelling. The dad walks in and points, and that boy jumps straight into the bed because that's a threat. And masculinity can be a threat, and that's not a bad thing. That's how discipline happens. That's how lessons are learned. That's how wisdom is gained.
Here's the reality about something you just said. They don't want to do it all. They don't want to do everything that society and pressure and that modern feminist movement is pushing onto women, that you got to be a boss babe, you got to do it all, you got to have it all, you got to look good, you got to they don't want to do that. They don't want to, but for some reason you feel like you have to. You feel like you need to buy into that myth that you can. And the woman that looks like she's doing all of that, especially by herself, is miserable at the end of the day. And you look at her, and you as a woman know daggone well she doesn't want to do all that. She doesn't want to kill the spider. She doesn't want to take out the trash. She doesn't want to pump the gas. She doesn't want to do all of those kind of things. All of the things that all the rest of the women don't want to do, she doesn't want to do either. She might tell you, yeah, I'm doing this and I'm doing that and I got it, I'm a boss babe and all this other kind of stuff, but she's miserable at the end. We had a legitimate boss babe on our show a month or two ago. I mean, man, Puna Moore, is on HGTV. She's got a business, couple of different design showrooms, just had the grand opening of her second showroom, last weekend. She's got all of that. She's a freaking star, man, on how many people on HGTV, right? Doing her thing, about to be on a show that's coming out here pretty soon, brand new show on HGTV. And she had a legitimate boss babe. Out of her mouth, she said, "I couldn't do it without my man. I couldn't do it without Everett. I couldn't do everything that there is to do without him. If nothing else, coming home or coming in and he got clothes laid out for her to wear. We had a legitimate boss babe who, some might try to pretend that, oh, she's got it, she's doing all this. And out of her own mouth, she said, I couldn't do it without my man. But so there's this agenda, even in her world, for her to be as successful as she is, they are successful because masculinity is present in that home. Masculinity is present in that family. And everywhere, when you find places that are dysfunctional, quote unquote toxic, all these other kind of stuff, 9 times out of 10, you're not going to find true masculinity in that space.
Yeah, let's get right into the whole notion of opposite attract and polarity. If you want to have a healthy relationship, you need polarity, which means one of you needs to be feminine, one of you needs to be masculine, and you need to work in that. And what makes us the most powerful as a couple, what makes us most powerful as a team, is when we stand in our own strengths. Because I don't want to be feminine and empathic and doing all those things that the ladies do. I don't want to have some operation so I can have a kid. I don't want to have those things. I want to be a man. I want to do the masculine things. I want to provide. I want to go, cut the grass, fix the car. I want to do all those things that men do. I want to do those things that makes us a strong, structured foundation in a relationship. And I want you to be the feminine woman so that we can empower each other. And I posted a video the other day about being dually yoked. When you're dually yoked, if you both have the same strengths, say your left side's strong and you're trying to pull to the right, you're going to go off to the left. So you need each of you to have your own strengths. Maybe one of you is more organized, and one of you is more of the go-getter. One of you, is more of the money maker, and one of you is more the creative. You need to have those polarities and those harmonies for that relationship to work, because you're making each other better. If you both have the same strengths and same weaknesses, then you're just going to exacerbate both of those things. And it comes down to personality types, it comes down to work ethic, it comes down to masculine, feminine, it comes down to all those different things. But you don't want everything to be the same. And this whole trying to make everything, fluid and we're all the same and it doesn't matter what you want, you can just choose to be it. I'm sorry, it doesn't work that way. And especially when it comes to trying to have a healthy, happy relationship, have goals, being successful, you need to have both of those things to be a good team. You need to have a healthy masculine man and a healthy feminine woman. You need to have the polarity, to have a sexual attraction. These are things that are being trained out of us. And it's one of the reasons we get so hot on this topic, because we as men are seeing how this is playing out. And it's not just hurting us. It's hurting all the women too. But you're being told this whole bill of lies that this is the way it should be. But yeah, to a point, like anything else, any good thing is good to a point, and then it becomes deadly. You need water every day, but too much will kill you. I don't know how electricity works, but I know it will cook my food, but it'll also cook me. So you got to know where the line is. And sometimes, ladies, you need a good masculine man to say, that's the line.
And it's a generational thing as well. The next generation, your kids need a man in their life. Your kids need their father in their life. Unless this man is an outright abuser, if there's outright danger, any of those kinds of things, which is extremely rare. Just because you didn't get along with him doesn't mean he's a danger. Just because, your experience with him, you say he's an emotional abuser. Sometimes those terms get so watered down. I mean, in any case, the next generation needs their dads. We got Father's Day coming up. There's a lot of fathers. Yeah, it goes both ways. Yeah, there's moms too that didn't get phone calls. There's way more fathers that ain't going to get a phone call this coming weekend, that ain't going to get acknowledged that they are half the reason why a kid is alive this weekend. That the kid will have no idea everything that the father provides. Man, I did the math the other day on how much child support I paid. I'm not even going to go
I'm
there.
surprised you're still here. I'm surprised you're still.
And I lowballed the average. And I mean, man, it just is what it is. And if you got a deadbeat dad out there that ain't paying child support, you got a whole court system on your side. Men can go to jail for not paying child support, license suspended, all that kind of stuff. If you got a bio father that's not paying child support, I'm going to say in way more than 51 out of 100 cases, it's because you haven't pursued that, because you haven't. No, I'm not saying you should have to, But at the same time, you have a court system that's on your side. Same scenario. Dad's paying child support. Mom says you can't see your kids. Does dad have a court system that's going to take any retribution on mom? No, it doesn't work that way. And so we have a generation coming up where you have, and I think that's why this next generation is so flaky, man. Why they have no stability, very little definition, very little structure. And I mean, just identity. They can't even define identity. I mean, just so on and so forth. Because over the last generation or two, we've done as a culture, as a society, a great job at removing the masculine, removing the father out of their life. Yeah, if the father's a disciplinarian, your kids need discipline. Sometimes the dad's going to say, yeah, that sucks, but you can do it. He's not going to respond like mom all the time, and that should be okay. But the kids need them. And so when this next generation, if you have any influence on this next generation and you're a parent, especially if you're a mom, you need to try to do whatever you can to encourage your kids to have whatever kind of relationship they can with their father. I know so many dads who are not bad men, but who have had bad stories told about them, and their kids grew up with that and that impression. They have no experience on their own, and it's the lack of masculinity in their life that's making them the way they are, and that's going to hurt them over the next generation.
Yeah, I mean, it's a sad agenda. There's a lot of sad statistics, and it basically comes back to, when you boil it down, we need more masculinity in the household. And one of the things, when you look 10,000-foot view, when you look high level, there's a reason there's been a war on masculinity for so long, because when there's not a healthy masculine man, families fall apart, kids aren't as healthy, communities fall apart, we don't have anything to fight for. And that tends to be what happens when a man doesn't have a family, doesn't have kids, he doesn't have something to fight for and to put his life on the line for, then he just doesn't. He just kind of goes off and, Peter Pan syndrome or whatever, because there's nothing there for him. Men need struggle. Men need purpose. We need you to be our purpose. We need you to be the one that we're getting up every day and working for, providing for. We need somebody there. And so when we don't have that, or that's taken away from us, then we kind of become listless. And you wonder why men take themselves out 3 times more than women do. Well, there's not only is the court system against us, but there's very little health support, mental health support. There's one battered men's shelter in Oklahoma, and there's like 1,000 for women across the U.S. And they say, oh, well, women don't batter men. Statistics don't lie. It's about 50-50. Just men can't report it, because if a man reports his wife abusing him physically, he goes to jail 9 times out of 10 because he's the man. Mm-hmm. Even if he doesn't do anything in return, the cops show up, domestic violence, he goes to jail. So we're just trying to shine a light on the reality of masculinity in the world today, especially here in the U.S., and the reality for men today. And, I make all kinds of silly posts and push buttons and do all kinds of things to get conversations started, but it's actually reality for a lot of guys. And that's what I think is hard for you ladies sometimes to understand, is that we're just saying our reality, our experience, that it's not your experience because you're not a man. And maybe you stop and listen once in a while before you try to shame us and guilt us and insult us and, try to be right. Maybe just hang out and go, maybe that's his experience. Maybe I should learn from it.
And, as we roll up on this Father's Day, or whenever you're watching this, the next Father's Day, appreciate the guy. If you got a halfway decent father in the picture, in the periphery, somewhere where you can reach out to, just let him know you appreciate him. Let him know you see him. Let him know you see his hard work. Let him know you recognize the value of why he's there. Really appreciate him. And sometimes that means letting him leave the house and go do his own thing. Sometimes that means, just appreciating him enough to say, what do you want? What do you want to do? And doing that. And so, these kind of things, we take for granted. I think I kind of have this opinion that the greatest men are truly appreciated when they're gone. And a lot of things that end up getting said at men's funerals should have gotten said, to their faces when they were alive. So we just wanted to come on here. We're not going to sit here and beg you for likes and subscribes and all that kind of stuff. It just is what it is. We just venting here today, man. We just kind of both on a rail doing our thing, man. And so, we always come back on Thursdays to do a little shorter version of our show. Check us out, madmenradio.com, KLDC 1220 AM on Saturday mornings and Wednesday evenings at 6 p.m. here in Denver. You can check out our podcast everywhere you can get a podcast, all that kind of stuff. We're just out here doing our thing. We've been doing this for, 6 or 7 years out of our own pocket, man, and out of our own time, just making this thing happen. And we do this to try to advance forward healthy and positive masculinity, because we are the madmen of masculinity.
And for you guys out there who your ladies just showed you this video to get whether either you agree or disagree or whatever, guess what? August 24th at the Parker Schoolhouse, we're doing the Masculine Empowerment Network Summit. Kirk and I will both be co-emceeing. We'll both be speaking. We have some keynote speakers, but it's really a time for men to come together, to network, to be around other men. If you don't have a men's group or you just want to have a bigger men's group, come join us and go to menempowerment.net. The tickets should be on sale right after Father's Day. We're shooting for Monday, but we'll keep you posted and let you know. But menempowerment.net, Kirk did a cool video, so check that out. And until next time, we are the Madmen, and we still love you. Peace
out.